One. Fuck. One. Okay, I'm good now.
You using the right microphone?
Yes. Asshole. Yes.
I'm
sir.
just checking if it's low out of nowhere. I've been burned so many times by the damn audio quality of ourselves and our guests. Yeah, anyway.
A little bit
Listen,
of shade,
I
but
know.
plenty
I know
of
what it's
words.
like.
Yeah, you probably all of us do. And especially sometimes it comes from the people you expect it the least from. You know, you have some absolute boomer who's like 78. Yes, ageism enters the conversation. And their fucking recording is absolutely godlike. It's perfect.
Yeah, pristine.
They pre-prepared for like 3 days before this thing. And then you have some people, you know, that just walk in and it sounds as if they're in a literal, what the fucking word? A submarine together with a bunch of millionaires sprawling through the depths of the Titanic.
And everything's going fine in there. Thank you.
Are we team we think they got turned into a fine slurry when the window blew, or are we team they're slowly running out of oxygen? My guess is it collapsed.
I think it's slowly running out of oxygen. It's more dramatic.
Yeah, they said this could be nothing. I don't know anything about the sea because it's none of my fucking business what happens in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Coast Guard or something was saying that they heard like banging.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Which does raise, quite a horrifying prospect that it could indeed be the latter.
They're having a great time. You know what? They're exploring each other's bodies and they're finding moments.
The bodies are so like exploded. The bodies are exploring other bodies. Not like I don't only have beef with this because it's a class thing or whatever, and I'm supposed to be hating on these poor souls that are dying in this fucking literal underground refrigerator or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But also because like I'm more pissed off about like what the fuck are you doing there? Some things should be left the fuck alone.
Yeah.
My biggest fear on planet Earth are the immense depths of our vast oceans. I am when they say, man, we need to be exploring more of the planet because that we've only explored like 1/10 of our waters compared to what we explored of our solar system. Good, very good. I say, fucking don't touch that shit. Don't fucking touch that shit. There's a reason why when you go as deep as, for example, these dudes went, your brain literally turns to mush and you explode. You condense on yourself. I'm not one of those, nature, this and that. But in this case, I am the hippiest of fucking hippies. Do not go so deep down that there are literal alien fucking looking motherfuckers with little light bulbs in front of their faces and teeth that are literally as big as my head. Like, fuck you. Like, you're not supposed to be there. Like, how more directly is nature supposed to tell you, dude, not your spot, bro?
They've started telling us pretty directly. I mean, the orcas have made it very clear that we are not welcome with our machines.
I saw a great post just before coming on. Someone had photoshopped like pots and pans into the fins of some orcas, and they just said, bang, 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 send more billionaires, it's fine down here.
Critical support to Comrade Orca and also Comrade The Depths for consuming more billionaires than the communists ever have.
So, I wonder what draws them to the abyss. Maybe they know deep down what they are,
Yeah.
We need to search for ourselves, and that's why we go on so many adventures. But millionaires, when they search for themselves, they search for the darkest, most decrepit, most lifeless parts of our planet, which is the deep seas, because they know that that's where they will actually find themselves.
Or they've found Atlantis, and they're slowly setting up a billionaire-only utopia down there. And that's why these submarines get lost and never found. They're just kind of vibing down there, where we can't get to them.
Oh, I'm going to be mad if a billionaire gets to fuck a mer person first.
Before me?
Right. I earned this.
I mean, I used to not really, care about who gets to fuck a mer person or whatever. But recently we found out.
But remember, if you edit it out, you're a segregationist. So
literally.
And now I'm going to edit it out, and people are going to be like, what the hell did they edit out?
Yeah. I'm basically saying that, if there's no black people, there's no attractive people anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's a weird combination of fetishism and also like praise. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore. But
I do not endorse these statements.
Yeah, I think you double canceled there, Bucko.
But they're mer people. They don't count. Yeah.
That's
Triple
true.
canceled. Triple
We
canceled.
haven't
They're
developed
not really
mer
people.
racism yet.
Speciesism enters the chat. Yeah. But speaking of like I don't know taboo topics or rich people doing stupid shit, I recently just invested in the most white people thing in my entire life. It's called a water purifier. It's like a big thing the size of a PC that you attach to like the bottom of your sink that makes 100% of your water like completely 1000% healthy and shit.
Shit free.
Absolutely shit free. And I tell myself, this is for my health, as I proceed to drink and smoke. Anyways, do you guys have any like bougie thing you own that makes you feel half ashamed about owning? Like, except obviously your 1000 horsepower Volvo JT and
500. Thank you very much.
there you go. and your probably crazy expensive cute rat creature that you'll tell us about later, Kate.
Rat creature. This is. I won't stand for this.
I have, let's see, we recently installed, because I have really bad allergies, and so we recently installed what's it called? Like an air filtration thing in our air conditioning unit that like vaporizes allergens and stuff as it passes through. So I've got nothing but the cleanest, crispest air for this boy. So, and that was that's probably my most bougie thing.
So that's
pretty good.
It's in your AC. No, that's actually my product also pretty decent, but this one is. But you don't buy like it separately, because funny enough, the people that sold me the water purifier thing, they were like, "You want an air purifier, bro?" And it was like even like not as expensive, but almost as expensive. But yours is like put into the AC. That's legit shit, bro.
Yeah, it has something to do with like a UV light, and there's a special kind of filter. It was very elaborate. Yeah,
UV lights too. Wow,
it's very fancy. I've got RGB air conditioning.
Wow, that makes the air better. I wish I had lit air. I wish I had air conditioning, dude. Oh my god.
Oh no.
My bougiest possession is probably I've got a really big Ninja blender.
Oh nice.
Because I love frozen cocktails, and
yes, my boy.
Yeah, I used to work in a restaurant, and these blenders were what we used there, and I would go behind the bar and just make stuff. And nothing crushes ice like these bad boys. I had to do it.
Well done. What's your poison? What's your preferred cocktail?
I've been making strawberry daiquiris lately because I'm,
yes,
little fucking fruity, and holy shit, they're so good. I went to a barbecue last week, and in my backpack, I brought the fucking blender because they didn't have one and all the ingredients, and started making strawberry daiquiris. It was a hit, let me tell you.
That slaps. Yeah, I love margaritas. We get great tequila here in Texas, so I'll make some margaritas, and I've got this like fruit puree stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's fruit puree. How unhealthy can it be? And the other day, I looked at the label, and I was like, bruh, this is really bad for you. I've been trying to be so healthy, and I'm like, well, I guess I can't have this anymore, but it's delicious.
But what even is fruit puree? Inspire, explain this to a non-Yank over here.
So, in theory, it's like fruit juice, but like slimier. It's like a syrup, basically. I don't know why I didn't think of syrup and I went for slime instead. But yeah, it's like a fruit syrup. And I don't know why the stuff that I get is so incredibly unhealthy. So I assume, I don't know, our cook comrade here can tell us, but I'm sure it's like reduced with sugar to make it a syrup. I don't know.
I mean, I would bet my bottom dollar that's got some corn syrup in there to sweeten it up, you know?
Oh, yeah, guaranteed.
Corn syrup is delicious. That's my hot take. It tastes amazing. And I'm definitely not saying that because of the first 18 years of my life just being exposed to it constantly, and parts of my brain are probably calcified with it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's in everything here. You cannot escape it. Like, I was looking at a packet of barbecue sauce from the fast food place I had today. I was like, yep, corn syrup's like the second ingredient. I'm like, damn, take it easy.
Oh, yeah, in barbecue sauce? Absolutely. You got to sweeten it up.
It's like the one sauce that I do not appreciate. I'm a big ketchup guy, a big mayo guy, a big Tabasco guy. Yes, I can. Dude, this is an Eastern Europe thing. I can literally fucking toast bread and just put mayo on it and have that with like a tomato.
People call me white.
And it is absolutely beautiful. No, you guys are appropriating Slavic culture. That is not Caucasian behavior. But I guess today is Ugopnik doing race theory hours. I don't know.
Yeah, we're back to Slavs aren't white anymore. We're back to that. So,
Ugopnik, does your toaster have like a single heating element so that when it comes out, it's got like the Adidas stripe on it?
I wish, but those are too expensive even for our Patreon count. I need a few years to pass. Actually, I have like a combination of like the same brand. I'm not gonna say it so it's not promotion or whatever. Of like my toaster, my coffee machine, my blender, my everything.
Wow.
And it's all like retro-ish and it like goes with the flat. But recently, because I moved in to a new place and a friend of mine actually bought me like Ninja but knives, because you mentioned the Ninja blender, and it's fucking genius because you can use the knives and whenever they go a bit numb, you can put them in, like the thing comes with a knife sharpener, so you can absolutely always sharpen it, and it makes me feel like I'm actually back in the kitchen or whatever, quote unquote, even though I obviously don't use it. This is a proud patriarchal society. I do not touch the knives except to threaten people like outside of the window when they park in my spot, which I do not own, but I expect them to naturally understand that it's mine.
People should respect dibs. Like if they've seen you parked in the spot before, they should understand it is your spot. You have claimed it. It's yours.
Yeah, we live in a society over here. We respect dibs.
But obviously, I never go down and actually beat the shit out of them. I wait for them to fall asleep, and then I go and I pop their tires, like a true man would always do. But no, I'm ironizing what unironically happened to me, like at least 3-4 times. I don't know what's up with the locals here and fucking up people's tires and windows, but it is what it is.
I was gonna say, while we're on the topic, just a quick PSA: if anyone is getting an itch to go and slash some tires, for your own safety, please, when you insert the blade, do not twist it and pull it out, or tear and pull it out, because then you're in for a bad time. Go straight in, straight out, and you'll be fine.
Push out, absolutely.
Sponsor of the podcast, Slashing Tires.
Yeah, friend of the pod, vandalism.
Welcome, dear listeners, to a fantastic guest episode we have for you today, featuring none other than Kay and Skittles. Who are they?
Hi.
Don't interrupt me, goddammit.
Said hi.
Keep that in. Well, as they call themselves and as they define themselves, prole, writer, and YouTubist. Only thing I could add is genius, media analyst, a dear and hilarious comrade, and most importantly, a disgusting fellow podcaster, a co-host over at arguably the best named shows of all time. Unironically, video games are the worst thing on earth and all gamers are bastards. Also important to mention, Kay is human and Skittles is a pet. By the way, what even is Skittles? I already offended it once, except for obviously being insanely cute.
Okay, Skittles is a ferret, which is not a rat. In fact, not even a rodent.
Is it technically a polecat?
So a ferret is really a domesticated polecat, but they're very similar. They can probably interbreed. I haven't checked. Mostly they're kind of like little guys. That's kind of the thing about them. So she has to like do her taxes and stuff because she's an adult man, basically. That's the situation.
Lovely. I'm glad to see another one here at the podcast also being very particular about their races. Thank you. But before we begin, though, would you please go ahead and give a little introduction to some of our viewers who might not know you?
Yeah, I'm Kay of the YouTube channel Kay and Skittles, and as you said, of those two wonderfully named podcasts. I mostly write stuff about politics and media critique, but increasingly, as I've been getting a history degree, it has been infecting my work, and now I'm gonna make the horrible mistake of trying to discuss history on YouTube. And anyone who's ever done that, they will tell you, don't do that.
Yeah,
why would you do that? But I love pain. So I'm going into the suffer dome, going into the jigsaw trap that is YouTube in the history way.
I hope you hate every single moment of it because you sound like that's exactly what you like.
I didn't start making YouTube videos to have a good time. Okay?
Absolutely. I think we can all feel that fucking thing. But that was, by the way, like JT, I don't know how you are, Kay, but JT is the biggest fucking masochist on planet Earth. And this guy's got like a platform the size of half of the fucking country I live in right now. And yet he always reads the fucking comments and fucking replies to half of them. You like will unironically sit down and read some absolute fucking gorilla ass buffoon right to him like, haha, vuvuzela iPhone. And JT will unironically go like, oh, fuck you, you stupid fuck. Like, I'm like, how do you not blow your brains out, man?
Well, most days I'm on the verge of that, but I do it. Some days it's a little cathartic. I'll go through, I'll read some comments, and I'll ban like 30 people from ever commenting on my channel again, and then I know that's 30 people removed from the comments who can never say anything stupid again and derail anybody. I'm making a little walled garden for all the little baby leftists who come to visit my channel.
Absolutely. I love, I hate free speech, and I love banning annoying commenters. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, build a wall, but on YouTube.
yeah. That's what I'm saying, the YouTube wall.
I've probably banned 3,000 people from my channel.
Fuck you, seriously?
Damn.
Christ.
I got a lot of comments.
That's impressive. I kind of feed off of the hate. I like it to stay there. I think I only like blocked 2 or 3 people on Twitter ever.
Wow.
It's it makes me horrid, as they say, but okay, why did I say that? Okay, so moving into the first topic of the conversation. The most oppressed group of them all, gamers, have become the quintessential breeding ground of mostly useless reactionaries. Useless in that they can't really do anything in the street or the sheets, but quite overpowered in the Reddits, Twitters, and internet subcultures of our world. As we all know, the internet is the only thing that matters, so de facto, gamers are the vanguard of any future political project. But jokes aside, why do you think there's been a strong utilization of gamer culture in the West by right-wingers, while the left has generally been left to look as if we unironically don't like the nerds?
It's messed up, right? Because the left has always been full of nerds. Marx was a fucking nerd. But I feel like nerd used to suggest that somebody was physically inept and probably well-read, whereas I feel like now being a nerd means you've watched a lot of Star Wars. You don't necessarily know anything. You haven't necessarily read a fucking book in your life. You just consume in a specific way.
Yeah.
So that kind of nerd is really fucking annoying. And they're kind of primed for reactionary politics, because like modern like reactionary outrage politics, it's just like marketing.
Yeah.
It's just like consumer patterns plastered onto politics, and that kind of becomes the culture war. That's why all they do is get mad about fucking beer advertisements and shit these days.
That drives me nuts. It's like, my guy, you're buying the beer to shoot the beer. This is what they want. They don't care if you drink it.
I would love to shoot a beer. That honestly sounds really fun. But it doesn't really
y'all come
own
visit.
anyone.
Y'all come visit. We'll shoot as many beers as you want.
Oh yeah, you live somewhere with freedom.
I live somewhere with freedom and guns and homophobic chicken. I've got everything you could possibly want here. And air conditioning.
I miss having a gun. I don't miss the homophobic chicken so much. But.
Additionally, and arguably even more interestingly, there seems to be an ideological divide, again underscoring in the West, between game developers and gamers. Game devs as well as writers seem to at least attempt, whenever that's possible, and they're not having their necks wrung by their corporate overlords, they at least attempt to do some mild social commentary through their work. Try to at least present progressive ideas and, more complex moral norms, etc., while their consumers, at least the stereotype as we previously mentioned it, just wants to quote-unquote go back to the good old apolitical game. Why do you think that is?
I feel like a really big part of it is because there's been this fetishization of escapism, and it's held up as this really pure experience that it's like a personal assault on the player if something of the real world is intruding on it. You know what I mean? And so they get defensive. Like, if the new Mario is about something, then I've wasted my fucking life just playing it, being like, oh, this is about jumping on these fucking turtles and banging royalty. That's what this game is about. That's what every plumber does. That's why everyone wants to be a plumber.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it makes them feel dumb. You know, you've been playing games for like 10 years and you've never thought about them politically, and then someone comes along and says, no, this game's about something. That suddenly means you might have fucked up, you know?
Mm. So you're telling me they made Wolfenstein political? Are you kidding me?
I can't believe they've done this. They won't even let you be friends with the clan. Like, what? So much for fucking free speech.
Freedom of choice in fucking games.
It's very, like, the word political now, when applied to games, is so incredibly vague. It's just become a reactionary buzzword because more often than not, you'll have like a woman protagonist in the game and they're like, they made it political. It's like, how is this political? This is a human being character that you are controlling.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is interesting how the gamer subculture has kind of consumed like the incel subculture and like the what if you want to call it toxic masculinity subculture and the just the right-wing subculture. And now anything that deviates from the, you know, like the original kind of Call of Duty, like Patterson, get on that 50. If it's not that, it's political somehow.
I mean, it helps that these are, every group you just listed is made up mostly of socially inept men.
Yep.
And in terms, I mean, I think that in terms of playing games, it's more or less 50-50, but in terms of being part of like gamer subculture, it's mostly men. They work really hard to make any women in the space uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which then feeds into them being incels and like MRAs and stuff. It's a good cycle of just never being a normal dude, you know?
What is an MRA?
Oh, a men's rights activist.
Oh my God.
I guess they haven't really been called that in years. Now they'd be like manosphere or
the men going their own way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, back. So I'm 1,000 years old, of course. Back in the day, these were the MRAs. Back when they were pretending to be like a civil rights group, which was a really funny period.
That's right.
But they couldn't name any rights that men don't have, so they kind of changed that.
Yeah, even those first humors that kind of grew out of the, as you very eloquently put, not people who play games, but people that very intensively define themselves as gamers. It grew out of it because for so long these ostracized individuals felt like this is their thing. Right? And they know everything about this thing, even though at the end of the day, the most like analysis of Super Mario they ever got to, as again Kay said, is, oh, plumber man, do the little jump and collect a little coin. And then all of a sudden, this community of theirs, which was ostracized by others, as well as them choosing to ostracize themselves to an extent that can be a debate, all of a sudden it has like a limelight directed at them and heavy-duty analysis by all of these people who they at least saw as people who made fun of them, as people who were not part of the internal culture of the gaming movement and so on, coming in and all of a sudden telling them, who were a part of it eternally, gamers are basically hipsters but for arcades, I guess, telling them what they are supposed to think about this thing that they've been so passionate about for so long. And this sort of intrusion either leads people to, become more retrospective and actually embrace it and say, oh man, this medium that has entertained me for so long, that I've enjoyed for so long, maybe it has a few more layers of depth to it that I could potentially explore. And I believe that the absolute majority of so-called back in the day nerds or gamers or whatever the fuck, they went down that route. But the reactionary segment, which completely wanted to solidify themselves in this identity of gamers that is now being attacked by people who are saying, oh, this is a bit more complicated than, clicking 3 buttons and achieving a high score. They are now the enemy. They are the external, the subhuman, the thing that we need to combat in order to preserve our traditional way of life as gamers. Basically, the allegory I'm making here is that the gaming subculture after, 2012, 13, 14, one could even say, because it entered the so-called mainstream, it was introduced to reactionary ideology, and just like it would apply to any nation state or whatever, to gaming culture, they basically had 2 choices: choose to quietly or actively progress, or fight for some sort of traditional way of being that never really existed, which again leads us to that famous term, going back to the golden age of gaming, to apolitical games, and so on and so on. And it doesn't even apply to games. You see the last Top Gun movie that came out, okay, film or whatever the fuck, but the main thing that everybody always says about it is, oh, they don't make them as they used to. This is a movie that, could have been only made in the 90s and 2000s. And now when it was made in, 2022 or 3, whenever the fuck it was, it blew our minds because, again, they don't make them as they used to. There's a reason they don't make them as they used to, because it's fucking cliche, overdrawn fucking propaganda hit piece about American guy, very good. So it's not only in games, it's in film, it's in media in general. The reactionary current doesn't only apply on state structure, governmental structure, or the military, and yes to abortions or no to abortions. It can seep into absolutely every single millimeter of society. I mean, for fuck's sake, sorry for the rant, but literally 2-3 years ago, we started a whole conversation about about whether vaccinating. We made vaccinating completely ideological with 2 tenths that we're fighting about it. So if you can make that ideological, obviously you're gonna make fucking angry basement dwellers ideologically inclined towards the reactionary whenever they want to preserve something that at the end of the day they would have gotten a lot more out of if they chose to accept the progression of that said something we're defending for so long.
Yeah, and speaking to the sort of gulf between the developers and the players that you mentioned, I think a lot of that comes from, or when I say players, I mean capital G gamers, of course. They, I think, kind of imagine that the average person is them, so sort of like a kind of right-wing, socially inept white dude is, that's quite a lot of these people. But game development studios do a decent, a surprisingly good job of actually being kind of representative of the general population. A lot of women work in these companies. There's a lot of queer people in these companies. That should not be surprising for anyone who knows anything about the visual arts. A lot of people who are graphic design and animators now started off making weird gay furry shit in DeviantArt, 20 years ago or however long. And they feel they feel besieged because this feels like something so apart from them, when it's just, no, this is the cross section of these companies is probably fairly similar to, a lot of workplaces. This is just what people are like. And so any sign, if they see a woman in a game, especially if they see a black woman in a game, that one really gets them hot and bothered in a bad way. Because it just seems like this alien thing suddenly. Whereas to a normal person, it's I literally cannot comprehend what your problem is. That's just some woman in a game. There's been women in games forever. Tomb Raider, when did that start? That's not even the first. That's just the first that comes to mind. It's super weird.
It's absolutely wild. But going back to kind of the apolitical aspect of it, which is relevant to continuing our conversation, or the so-called unbiased game that was supposed to at some point exist, I want to ask you guys, what's your favorite ultra biased game that is apparently seen as apolitical by, ideological Neanderthals. And for me, obviously, I'm gonna chicken out as fuck. It's Call of Duty. It takes the cake for me, no matter how cliche or easy of a choice it might be. But yeah, what can you think of that, really you remember making your fucking jaw drop? You're like, did they really made it like this?
For me, easily it's Fallout. My, I don't know, second or third video was about Fallout, and it was the first time I made a video about video game. And I knew it would be bad, but I didn't realize how angry people would get at the suggestion that this game about the worst fears of the Cold War coming true and America being kind of frozen in time as like the worst version of itself, just the most jingoistic and violent and freakish type of America. They were really upset at the proposition that this is trying to say things about America and the system in it. A lot of people, and to be fair, I feel like a lot of people at Bethesda who are making these games now feel the same way, but they just want it to be like a theme park of kind of early mid 20th century Americana, and they don't want to think about, hey, why did the world get nuked? That's weird that happened.
Even for a millisecond, considering Fallout, a game so blatantly in your face about kind of the message you're trying to propose is absolutely fascinating. I remember some guy making like mods with like just a communist skin of the Brotherhood armor, and people losing their fucking mind and like retweeting that with literally the quote, what was it? Death is a preferable alternative to communism. It absolutely fascinates me how deep inside of their own skulls some people tend to exist in. I'm sometimes jealous. Like, imagine how like freeing that must be, how enjoyable
peaceful.
that must be. Completely peaceful. Ignorance is bliss, but to these guys, it's not even bliss. It's fucking, I don't know, 3 grams of fucking heroin in a fucking ditch. Like, it's art.
It's funny because Liberty Prime and a lot of the robots in Fallout are making fun of that sort of like militant anti-communism. But a lot of people saw that when they were like, yeah, that's so cool. I'm going to quote that like a serious opinion.
I'm going to come clean. I've never played Fallout.
None of them.
Fuck? I've never played Fallout. I've never played BioShock either. That's another one that people say, oh, you made it political. I've never played any of them. I'm not a gamer.
Honestly, I love that for you. You're gonna, you will see the gates of heaven. You are a full human being.
I can't believe it.
You are an audio producer though, so from one to another, I maybe need to roll back some of those statements, but
not like he's much worse. Like, he's one of those gamers that I guess, like, my analysis of JT is if it has a story with more than 3 pages of text included in that story, he cannot fucking play him. He's a Super Smash Bros, like ultra hardcore player. Like, Monkey Man fight Plumber Man, fight Princess Girl. On screen they do the hit, and he can spend like thousands of hours on that. So
unironically, I think about 2,000 hours on Smash Ultimate.
There you go.
Yo,
Depths of hell, the deepest depths of hell. Like, Satan himself will open the door when he welcomes him. We can make an excuse. We're like, it was because of the narrative or whatever, and they're gonna put us in the part of hell with like the cinema freaks, right? Like
the cinema freaks,
the movie lovers, because it's because of the narrative, it's because of the writing. But him, deepest holes, my friend.
So JT, I take it you didn't enjoy Disco Elysium then?
I have it in my Steam library. I've never opened it, and specifically because, like Ugopnik said, there is a lot of reading to be done.
Yeah, there's a bit of reading, yeah. You could say that's most of the game, in fact.
Oh my god, yeah, canceled. Not playing that game. Stupid. It's for nerds.
It's fully voice acted now, so theoretically you could not look at the words and get pretty far.
I could pretend there's no reading.
Yeah, it's a movie now.
Wow, okay. All right. Okay. I can do that. Yeah, even like Zelda, even the new Zelda game, I've been like, I don't know what happened to me in the last couple of years. I was just mashing the A button, like, I don't care what you're saying. I don't care. I just want to run around and pick up fruits and stuff.
You're triggering me so fucking hard right now. Like, you have no fucking idea. I am turning into a reactionary game.
Dialogue
like,
in that game.
The dialogue is for babies. It's like, oh, there's a door there. Maybe a key would open it. I'm like, I don't want to read
Really?
this.
Okay.
Don't tell me about the key.
Don't tell me. What was that joke like? Being woman must be very hard. You must choose what Sims DLC to buy. But speaking of jaw-droppingly difficult choices, your video, which I recommend to all our listeners about Enemy at the Gates, was absolutely fucking incredible. I remember watching that propaganda piece when I was a teen, and it's sticking so much with me that to this day I'm trying to fight some of my personal stereotypes about, specifically in this case, the Red Army. But anyways, please give us, let's put it this way, your top 3 moments from that film, so we don't spoil the entirety of your awesome video, which is going to be in the description below. Your top 3 moments that still make you go, and I'm repeating myself from previously, how the fuck did they get this made?
Well, first of all, thank you. It's very kind. That was a video that I made because it's one of those things that I have probably talked my friends' ears off of about so many times over the years. I just had to, I had to get it out there.
Yeah.
My favorite scene by far, and I do mention it in the video, is the one where I think it's Khrushchev himself gets the political officers together and is like, morale is shit, boys. What are we doing? And they're like, we've tried torturing our own men and we're all out of ideas. That's awesome. And then Danilov, who is meant to be more sympathetic because he will renounce communism towards the end of the film. He's like, we tried giving them hope. And everyone's like, what the fuck?
What?
What? That's dope. And then, mentioning it, my second favorite scene is the one where he decides that because a girl doesn't like him, communism won't work right before he kills himself.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with that. It feels like, it so far predates incels, but like he's an incel.
Yeah.
OG Red Army Soviet incel, bro. Fucking class.
Yeah, I definitely, that was a point where I started to feel like this was a real guy. You can't just do this to someone. This is all made up. What do you do? You can't just make a guy an incel. He probably had a family.
Isn't it kind of beautiful? It's like absolutely every ideological current can be destroyed by you getting dumped by a woman. In a way, for like at least straight men, while they dread being dumped by a woman, they also long for it because it is the ultimate excuse to embrace reactionary ideology.
Oh yeah, you divorced guys everywhere are acting up.
Yeah, it's like perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's like an extension of that American thing of you hoarding guns because you're really hoping somebody breaks into your house so you can fuck them up, right? It's like, man, if somebody could fucking come. I think there is also a masochistic drive again in straight men for them to want to be dumped by their wives or by their women in order for them to finally have an excuse to embrace, at least in this case, ultra patriarchal tendencies. Or like I would even expand it, like as we've seen, for example, obviously we're not going into the details of this horrible war, etc., but it's as if like most Western European liberals and like American liberals were just waiting for some other country to do something bad, in this case Russia, for them to be able to literally just call Russians fucking dirty orcs, fucking little dirt fucking maggot motherfuckers. So it's
they were so eager to do race science. They loved it because they were like, okay, everyone agrees that it's culturally very convenient and easy to talk shit about Russia and Russians. We laid the groundwork. That sounds right. For that in the Cold War, that's done. We can just do what it seems like a lot of these people wish they could say about a lot of other groups.
Yeah.
No, they're taking a fucked up glee in it that is really disturbing.
Aren't they? So I guess I'm expanding this theory. I think I'll write a book about, unironically, dropping the thesis right now. So it's people want to get dumped so that they can be extremely sexist. people wanna get dumped in order for them to stop being communists if they're communists, but also like people probably like wanna be attacked by like a minority, be it verbally or physically, so that they can. I know I have acquaintances that will unironically sit down and like say something extremely bigoted, and I would call them out like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And they would say, "No, man, you don't know what fucking happened to me like back in 1997 or some shit." I'm like, "What?" And then sure, it happens to be that some random guy with a bit more melanin or from the weird religion number 787 did something wrong to them, but they were really looking for that experience to happen to them, that what they call trauma or whatever, in order for them to excuse away to jump on the bandwagon, as you said, of being a bigoted piece of shit. So in a way, we all want to be hurt so that we can hurt others. There you go. That's how the book ends. Fucking signatures, fucking New York bestseller. I'll just make sure to include like 3 sentences about how I disagree with the Soviet Union and how Jeffrey Epstein is my favorite guy, and immediately fucking best-selling shit.
I think that those guys who have that masochistic impulse should probably find a healthier way to vent it. You know, get into CBT or something. I don't know.
But fucking sick. But going back to gaming, I guess talking about cock and ball torture. What the fuck is going on? Why is everything so fucking average?
Was that supposed to be Mario? Was that in Italian?
No, it's like it's a combo. It's like I'm walking over here, Gabagool, I'm fucking Tony Soprano. I wanted one without pulp. But am I just getting old, or is the good old hand of the free market swooped into the panties of the gaming industry and slowly whispered repetitive missions, loot boxes, useless DLCs, higher prices? I tried to make a sexy thing, but apparently no, it didn't work. I can hear it on myself. Into the ear as it erotically said yes to every single one of its dumb boss's desires. The tech keeps getting better. The possibilities are becoming endless. And yet, with a few exceptions, we're getting the most milquetoast, underdeveloped shit in decades. Enlighten us, please, as the prime gamer hater, on why you think this is the case.
Wow. I mean, first of all, I would say that I will go to bat for indie games. I think they've been getting better.
Yes.
And a big thing with these studios is, because like any company, the constant growth is required. It's not good enough to make a profit. You need to be making a gain on your profits last quarter. So they have all sorts of fucked up practices to try to achieve that. They're laying off people when they're making record profits. They're crunching the fuck out of their dev teams. But another one is monetization, and games get sculpted, like big budget AAA games get sculpted around monetization models, to the extent that there's been cases where they've removed loot boxes from games, and then the game has to be like rebalanced because they rigged it to try to make you need to buy loot boxes.
That's insane.
That happened with a Battlefront game a few years back, and then a few other ones. Because it's not good enough to sell lots of games and make money for most of these companies. They've really become obsessed with games being kind of never-ending things. Like games as a service is what they call it sometimes, but a lot of games have that model where it's like, we're just going to support this game and sell you new things in it for fucking years and years, as long as we possibly can, because they want that steady income, and they're competing over a limited customer base who they're really expecting to put a lot of time into games that often don't give them very much back.
Yeah.
Fallout 76 was a great example. They expected you to subscribe and play for years, and it's like, there's not years worth of stuff to do. It wasn't very good. It's not going to work, guys.
Same with Battlefield 2042. I was stoked I'm a big Battlefield fan. Like, one of my favorite games of all time is Bad Company 2. And then Battlefield 1 absolutely slapped.
Great
as well.
game, but literally didn't have absolutely any fucking story. And that's why you like it. I mean, sorry, just my thesis.
What, Bad Company 2?
Yeah, it had like
There's no reading in that game.
It was a joke.
There's no reading. There's no reading. But there's a story.
Hey, bro, there's a tank over there.
They did a revisionism. Japanese came up with a doomsday weapon, and then they went to the future, and there's also I don't remember. Anyway, great game. But like Battlefield 5, and then subsequently Battlefield 2042 were just absolute garbage. Like, it didn't work on launch, relied on this like subscription model and stuff like that. And it's like, why are you doing this? But I can't remember now the last time a AAA game came out that was functional at launch. Like, just not a great game, just even functional. It's wild.
I mean, the market has accepted underdeveloped games. It has shown that it buys them. Except obviously when it's so fucked up that everybody revolts. Like, I don't know, Cyberpunk being an example, and even to an extent, the Star Wars game that everybody mentioned, where everybody protested the microtransactions to such an extent that they ended up, minimizing / removing that from the situation, but. In general, I mean, this is just an extension of, the cliche that probably most of our listeners know at this point, but it's worth repeating. Once you achieve a place in the market which does not allow for major competition to enter, because most capital and most competition has already been to an extent monopolized, which is the natural extension of how markets work. This is absolutely 100% unavoidable, even with the strictest reforms, as long as you use the market, obviously. You get to a point where mass producers, in this case, but genuinely capitalists, realize the bettering of our product does not necessarily lead to higher returns, because already the market is too saturated, and number two, already the product is that decent that there is no way for us to improve it enough without a massive investment, which in the short term will lead to a lower profitability. So what do you do then? You start cutting costs by obviously firing people, or by lowering the quality of the product. You put more water in the cheese instead of milk. You put repetitive fucking auto-generated maps or whatever in your game instead of actually spending time developing it. You absolutely ruin the lives of, in this case, your developers, who have to fucking overwork their asses because some guy in marketing said it's super good for us to release on July 5th, and you cannot, God forbid, postpone up until September. And it's again, just the gaming industry is not excluded from being a victim of the way the capitalist market works, which again, sorry for repeating myself, but it's very important to note, kind of absolutely denounces the number one main pitch that they've always been giving us as, why capitalism equal good. Capitalism equal good because competition lead to better product. Literally, capitalism equal good because you get cool shit. That's, at least to me, that's the best pitch capitalism has ever given. But at one point, capitalism reaches a point where competition not equal good. Competition equal fucking cheese with emulgators and shit, and fucking parasites and fucking worms, and video games
and monopolies
that barely run.
The eventual goal of competition, the logical endpoint of competition is monopoly. Eventually, everyone will be outcompeted by one mega corporation or one video game franchise or whatever. It's why we've got Call of Duty and Battlefield. Those are the war games. Like, they killed Medal of Honor. They killed all the other options and stuff like that. And so now you've got them going back and forth trying to out war game each other. Like, I'm going back to World War I. I'm going to do World War II. Okay, now we're doing World War II. Okay, we're going back to the near future. Okay, me too. And it's just, if it consolidates to the point where they don't have to improve their product, they don't have to put in any effort, you get stuff like Pokemon Legends, where it's just like, brother, this looks like Gale of Darkness or Pokemon Coliseum or something. This could run on a GameCube. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, plus, I think that Joe Brandon might be trying to stop it, but Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard, so they scooped that up, and then who makes Battlefield? DICE? They're not owned by Microsoft, are they?
They're owned by...
Because Microsoft scoops them up, and then you've got the two big military shooter competitors not needing to compete. They're just
it's EA.
owned by the same people. EA, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they scoop up Activision Blizzard, scoop up EA. I could see it happening, and then just
GG.
It's one company. It is indeed GG. Like, we are so close in media to monopoly. Like, Disney on the other side, on the film and television side, is frighteningly close. To the point that the U.S. government is actually kind of saying, well, hang on, this is getting a little dicey. Like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I can't fucking wait for Call of Battlefield Black Ops. Like, it's going to be absolutely fucking rad. But okay, now we're just being very like doomer pilled or whatever the fuck, and arguing about the doomer pill is always much easier than actually looking towards the light. So I'm going to push us in that kind of direction. So what do you think a post-capitalist setup where devs organize together to create a video game would look like? Some of the drawbacks, some of the benefits. For example, there might be less games in total, probably, but the ones that come out would be polished to perfection, as there's no corporate overlord who was told by the previously mentioned marketing boss that releasing exactly on June 5th is the most important thing. Otherwise, the world will die. That's just one small example. How do you think the post-capitalist process of developing a game, or not even process of developing a game, the post-capitalist gaming
landscape,
thank you, would look like?
Oh, yeah, of course. The PCGL, the post-capitalist gaming landscape. We all know about that.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot because, and obviously it's speculative, but I think the biggest thing would be that games would come out way fucking slower, and they would be better, but a lot of it is that the current pace of game production is pretty unhealthy for the people making it. Clearly leads to really flawed final products. You mentioned Cyberpunk before, and like, it's fucked that was released in any kind of state like that. They should have been working on that for at least like 2 more years. So I think we'd see games coming out far more slowly. It's very possible that we wouldn't see these huge AAA titles much, like, without the centralizing power of capital. Would we have studios of the size of Ubisoft, for example? Maybe not. It wouldn't be a huge loss, but if those things did happen, I think they'd be these really weird collaborative projects that would be very messy and would take even longer to make. I think we'd see a lot more smaller games, small teams doing passion projects. I think that if you look at especially Bethesda game modding communities, you maybe get a bit of a glimpse of what that would look like. Like, teams are making they're making Oblivion and Morrowind, different teams, in Skyrim, basically, so they can have the same game but like modernized. That's an incredible amount of work. They've been doing it for probably both of them coming up on a decade, all completely free and voluntary, and I think that's probably what game development would start to look like. It would be these weird, quite slow passion projects.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm all for that. Like, all the games that I've really enjoyed recently have been small, like indie projects, like Hades, the Ori games, Hollow Knight, Rollerdrome, stuff like that.
Those are all so good.
They slap and they work perfectly. There are no bugs, at least that I've experienced, and they're buy them for $19.99, and it's a beautiful experience that you can always come back to. Whereas I fire up Battlefield today, I guarantee I'm gonna run into some game-breaking glitch. It's ridiculous, but yeah, that's.
I don't mean to be pedantic, but Hollow Knight is full of bugs.
Dang it. Yes, that is true. But yeah, it's like the passion really shows through on the projects that people, they have the time to develop. They've got the time to have their artists make these beautiful backdrops for games like Hollow Knight, and it's like every frame of that it's a work of art. Whereas these, the Battlefields and the Pokemons and less Pokemon, those games are ugly, but the Battlefields and the Call of Duties and stuff are technically impressive, but completely soulless.
Yeah, and devs will get a lot more artistically brave if their first priority isn't meeting the demands of shareholders,
Right.
and a boss who's like, you need to sell 10 million copies, or I'm gonna do Roman decimation on the dev studio. You can't make weird shit when you're trying to be as mainstream and broad as humanly possible. You can't, and therefore, you're not going to be as artistically interesting.
Exactly. Again, to not repeat myself like a broken clock, but the moment you're not limited by competition, your palette of how different of a game you can create, your palette of colors that you can use on the wall that you're painting on expands massively. And as you said, we probably won't see as big of titles, even though a point could be made there that large platforms, if I can call them that, would be created, massive games that are not 100% complete, but that because they're not privately owned, because they're not intellectual property and so on, the community itself could actively work on continuously expanding those particular worlds. But that's, again, something like I'm fantasizing or whatever the fuck, but only on the normal basic level of removing hardcore market competition. Obviously, we would be seeing a far more creativity and a far more expansive sort of approach towards what even a game is, because right now we have the set categories that we've defined, not only in games. I mean, look at cars, they all fucking look the same. Look at how like equalized all films have become after we've introduced mass consumption through streaming services. Look at the apartment furniture. Look at the approach to what a park is supposed to look like or not look like, what a walkable city is, what is not. Because this is all limited by practicality, which should lead to higher capital gain, we do not dare to explore something radically different. And nowadays, to go back to gaming, like so many developers absolutely dare to do something pretty radical, but they always, except for a few exceptions, but they always need to revolve around making this thing financially sustainable. Even this thing that we're doing, we're literally pitching the absolute annihilation of capitalism through a microphone while LARPing on a podcast or whatever the fuck. But even this, like, let's be honest, if it is not financially self-sufficient, it will die, because we have to eat food, drink water, and pay for mortgages, rent, electricity, car fuel, and so on. Absolutely everything has this sort of disgusting ceiling which asks them, no matter what they do, no matter what passion projects they have, it always asks the repetitive question of, is this going to be able to put food on your table? And that will always, always, always limit creativity and always limit just how far we want to explore. The opportunities are basically endless, in my opinion. Some limitations, sure, but the opportunities are endless if we remove this ceiling of ours one beautiful, beautiful day. But obviously all the gamers are going to call it fucking political, fuck off, man. They're going to set up their own fucking little country where they'll just have Call of Duty 787 and call each other the F slur and so on and so on.
You know what? As it happens, there is a miserable island nation that we could put all the gamers on, called Britain, but they can rename it if they want.
Yeah. And they wouldn't have air conditioning. Oh, God, the stench. The stench would be unbearable.
Well, we won't be going there. Don't you worry. We're going to get a non-gamer pass from the communists on this day for our service to the podcasting aspect of the regime.
But we would
the most important part.
You know that joke, that famous anti-fascist saying, first they came for the communists, I did not say anything, then they came for the and then, in the end when they came for me, there was nobody to speak up. Imagine, the communist cleanse of all innately, I don't know how they would define it, like innately reactionary professions or some, and in the future, first, we eliminated the gamer, and us podcasters would like clap clapped. Then we eliminated the influencer, and us podcasters clapped. Then we eliminated the tech guru, and us podcasters clapped. And when they came for the podcaster, there was nobody else to complain. So we will end up in the British Isles as another aspect of the colony. But instead of just giving us games in basements and large flat screen TVs, they will force all podcasters to all like podcast from a single warehouse, so that it's absolutely impossible to edit the audio because
sharing one microphone.
Sharing one microphone. Holy shit!
Factory farming podcasters in a big fucking industrial warehouse. That's a beautiful dream. I hope we get there.
One day, comrade, one day.
Oh, so I just wanted to add something to the fantasizing about post-capitalist games. Is I'd love to see, absent intellectual property laws, people would save a lot of time. When I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a game I really enjoy, I was struck by how like amazing just the horse riding was. And then it occurred to me, the horse riding is in so many games, and every time they have to build their own fucking horse riding system instead of just fucking copy and paste this one, assuming you're using the same engine or whatever, so it works. You shouldn't need to. Somebody did a great job on this. You shouldn't need to put time into this. Put that into everything else to make the game great, instead of agonizing over horses.
Games really upgrade one on top of another. If you're making like, I don't know, an adventure open world game and shit, third person, like for example Red Dead, even though it has first person, but you know what I mean. You could literally take almost all the aspects of it and then use that particular engine to tell a different story. And then somebody who would want to improve on that engine could absolutely take that engine and then improve on it. And, in a non-market way, people would still compete to create the better and better version of that engine, just because this is what humans do, not only when they're driven by fucking monetary factors. It would be absolutely beautiful. Yeah, lovely. Absolutely. No, the future of gaming, hey, reactionary gamer but for some reason fell on this podcast, the future of your passion project could be looking good in this alternative to capitalist doctrine that you're so used to.
All right, well, leaving the fetid lair of gaming for just a moment, one of my favorite videos of yours, Kay, is the one about Batman and power fantasy. Excellent video. Highly encourage all of our listeners to give it a watch. But the one thing that stuck out to me the most was the final section, the cool third thing, on the Immortal Hulk. And I'm not really a comic guy, so I'd never heard of that. And it is wild to me that something so blatantly pro-liberation and literally crushing the capitalist system even exists. So could you give the audience a real quick rundown of the series? And then also, as a follow-up, this made me think, wow, if this can exist, what will it take to start seeing more explicitly revolutionary media? Like, revolutionary sentiment is definitely on the rise, I would say. So what is preventing more Immortal Hulk type content?
So Immortal Hulk is, or I should say, the run by Al Ewing. I don't remember how many issues it is. I think somebody else took it over recently and it hasn't been as good. But I kind of stopped reading when my man Al was no longer at the helm of it, because it was in large part his creative vision, I felt. Immortal Hulk is Bruce Banner. They use as they often do with the Hulk, a bit of a heavy-handed schizophrenia, multiple personality thing to make sense of like how he has these different beings. He's got different Hulks basically in his head. And one of them is called the Devil Hulk. It's derived from kind of his childhood trauma, and its primary goal is to protect humanity. And it figures, okay, the way to do this is to destroy the capitalist system, the mechanisms of which are obviously detrimental to humanity. That's already a pretty, not an especially like bold statement for us, but for a comic book writer is quite good. And so he does that, he goes and he physically destroys corporations that are stand-ins for corporate power overall. And that would be a cool but not mind-blowing comic series to me. Where it really goes up a notch is two things it does. One is it presents liberal counter-arguments and then kind of throws them away. At one point, I don't remember his name. I haven't read any of his comics. There's another Hulk. Marvel shit is complicated. There's another Hulk who is an Asian guy. I think he's named Arthur. I don't remember. And he's kind of like, Banner asks asks the other Hulk, do you want to join what I'm doing here? And he gives him this at the time, very familiar sounding, like, oh, yeah, I think this is just you being like an angry white guy lashing out. I don't think this is actually that radical. It just made me think of like the discourse around Bernie bros and stuff, right? Liberals who have always sided with the status quo being like, oh, they're just being angry and white. Like there are a lot of people who would say this would be white as well. They'd be acting like they're being radical anti-racists when it's just, they're just dismissing complaints about capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And the comic never really gives Arthur's arguments a lot of credence. It's a critique that the Hulk is presented with and considers, but then he doesn't abandon his project, which I thought was important. And they go so far as to have him fighting a being that is kind of representative of ideology itself. And like nostalgia via the media being used to create this kind of cultural hegemony. Like it starts to get kind of abstract.
Yeah.
While he is still just, beating up monsters, which I find very funny. But these kinds of ideas are like, this guy is not just angry about capitalism. My man's been reading books.
Yeah.
And you love to see that in a medium that is not always the most interested in politics and ideology beyond like the surface. And you can get that sometimes when you're not in a main run, because the way superhero comics work is there's usually like a primary current canon run for a given character, but there's always lots of side things like the Immortal Hulk, and you get way more interesting stuff in those. In 2016, Tom King did a short run for The Vision that I thought was really good. It's not necessarily communist or anything. It's just, it's good. It's good art, despite being superhero shit, which I'm normally quite down on, because it was just like a side run of like, I don't know, 20 issues or whatever it was. And you can get away with a lot when you do that. And I think that's how the Immortal Hulk gets made.
Yeah, I just thought that was super cool. Like, I have almost no experience with comic books, but then listening to you describing, like, okay, so yeah, there's this literal Minotaur guy who's at the head of this company. And it's like, it was, I don't know. It was just, to me, it was really cool because most of the time when you think of comics or you think of superheroes and stuff, you think of Marvel, and Marvel is very much like the liberal kind of power fantasy kind of thing. And so to have those arguments mentioned, but then dismissed in favor of radical solutions that actually address structural issues is incredibly refreshing. And so that just made me think, like, man, we on the left have such an opportunity with all the means of disseminating information, all the different creative avenues we could take to produce stuff like this and provide an alternative to these more liberal or oftentimes reactionary forms of media. And that's kind of, on the one hand, daunting because we don't have really the infrastructure to build that up to combat these other ideologies. But on the other hand, it's kind of exciting. Like, we could do this stuff. There's some of it out there, and we just need to put out more of it.
I think I would say that the infrastructure, it might be more present than you think. Artists in general skew left wing.
Yeah.
However, the guys in boardrooms do not. And so a big consequence of this is the higher your budget, the more you're answering to suits, the more in line with the status quo your art becomes. But when you get into these smaller things, like a side comic run of the Hulk, you get it a lot in books, obviously, or lower budget film even. You get much more interesting and radical politics. But you're never going to see that in like the MCU, because when you're trying to sell that broadly, you can have a vaguely, like, 1 degree to the left of Hillary Clinton sort of progressive vibe, but that's you're getting cut off after that. That's the line usually.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, as people move further to the left, ironically, kind of the market is gonna eat itself. The whole cliche, they're gonna sell us the rope we hang them with, and it's going to be more and more profitable to actually make left-wing content, including comics, including film, including video games. So there will be kind of a midpoint in which their greed will grow to such an extent that even the guys in the boardroom will be pushing, hey, we should kind of address this whole new market that has erupted of quote-unquote left-wingers. Obviously, there will always be relatively milquetoast. I mean, we see, fucking Pride Month, what they do for the LGBTQ community by just, painting their logos in the rainbow flag and shit. But
thanks, Raytheon.
Absolutely. Woo! But not to an extent. It eventually will become a materially feasible kind of market for them to try and explore. Mostly in the beginning, milquetoast leftists, but then at some point, as more and more people get radicalized, more and more of them might even be approached by mainstream outlets and so on. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try and develop and set up our own outlets, or if not to such an extreme case, as UK beautifully put, try and keep as many of those people who are not yet there, that they're generating so much capital, and that because of that they're closer and closer to the people in the boardroom, towards us, so that when they're eventually approached by the people in the boardroom, they've already established such strong, IPs that no matter how much the guy in the boardroom tries to push them to the right, they kind of refuse to. Something like, I don't know, Disco Elysium and the whole drama around it can potentially be an example of both the negative and positive aspects of where such a, let's call it, a discussion can go in, when again the devs themselves are very strongly set in their ways when it comes to more progressive politics. But this has been a brilliant episode, and we should slowly start, unfortunately, wrapping up. So before we do, I have a kind of surprise question. If gamers were not the cringiest, most reactionary, most oppressed people in the world, give me 2 other categories that you think would be.
Weebs. Jumping in to say weebs.
Honestly, yeah.
Why? I want explanations, motherfucker.
I mean, does weebs require an explanation? They're a nightmare. Whenever you see an anime profile picture, you're in for the worst shit you've ever seen. And if you click on their profile, there's like a 60-70% chance it's going to be sexual drawings of cartoon children.
Yeah.
So,
or
not
Hitler.
good.
Or really cute Hitler.
Or cute Hitler.
Yeah.
And the other one? Don't say pedophiles. That's too easy.
We already did. We already said weebs.
The other one is, I'm going to say, ideologically committed liberals, like people who are excited about the Hillary Clintons and the Keir Starmers and the Joe Bidens and so on of the world. That's just... I get it if you think it's worthwhile to sort of hold your nose and vote for them or whatever, but if you're actually like, no, this guy's actually really good, that's sad for you. I don't know how to help you.
Yeah, I had a coworker, I think I've brought him up on the podcast before, but he was all in for Mayor Pete. He loved the guy. And I was like,
that's even weirder because he's an outside shot. Like, it's not like you're siding with power. I'm going for the underdog, but it's Mayor Pete.
It's knockoff Obama. It's like, this guy is terrible. Nobody likes him. Why do you like him? And then eventually he got on the Biden train and he's got the Biden socks and everything. I'm like, man, what a beautiful mind you have. I'd love to go for a dip in that brain and just see what else is in there.
Biden socks. I would redact it myself immediately.
Lovely. So, thank you again, Kay, for coming. Please say hi to Skittles from us. Before we start wrapping up the show, please tell our audience where they could find some of your work. Obviously, all of the links will be included in the description. This has been absolutely fucking wild. I am sure that obviously if you agree on it, we will have you on the show many, many times more. And for everybody that's been sticking to the episode all the way to the end, they should hear it. Kay has actually been one of the most requested guests ever. So I hope you motherfuckers are happy, because we also are very happy, because this turned out to be a great episode. So, Kay, let me not ramble on anymore. Please tell our listeners where they can find your shit, and all of that will be in the description.
Of course. I didn't know people were requesting me. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sick. You can find my videos on YouTube at K and Skittles. By the time this is out, I should have a video up on The Forgotten City and Pentiment, which is 2 games about history that I'm going to use to talk about history, which I warned you would happen at the beginning of this episode, so you got no one to blame but
Next episode,
yourself.
we'll talk about history. There we go. Sorry for spamming you with your previous career video games. Now we will continue. Next time we do history.
No, I'm combining video games and history to be the most annoying person on the planet.
Sorry, but yes.
And you can check out my 2, for some reason, podcasts that do largely pertain to video games. All Gamers Are Bastards and Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth, which both have me and other people. It'll kind of be like this. There will be me and 1 to 2 other people. Similar situation. And follow me on Twitter at K and Skittles. I think that's all my shit. I stream. I think I stream on Sundays and Mondays on Twitch in the evening, British time. Go there.
Busy. Very busy.
Yeah, I don't have enough jobs. Like, my actual job isn't enough, apparently, so I'm going to...
Well, with all that said, let's wrap up today's episode. This has been a great one. Thanks again, Kay. This has been The Deprogram. I'm JT.
I'm Ugobnik.
And I'm Kay.
Never trust a weeb.